It's Miss Witt tonight on your homework. Yes, you have to do all your homework and you must show your work to get credit tonight. As of like last night's homework, you had to show your work to get credit. With no calculator use right now, you have to show your work. So for on the first part, the practice, you had to do all the practice. Well, let's talk about what we did in class today. So we learned about volume, which volume is length times width times height. And something that we talk about to help us remember this is you can say L stands for lake, the W stands for Wales, and the H stands for Highlanders. So what do we do with these dimensions? Are we adding them together? No, we're finding the product of them. We are multiplying them. And just like if you go to the movies, you have it's called a 3D movie because you have the flat screen version of it where it's the length and the width, but then you have where the glass is to see the third dimension, which is the height coming out at you. So it has volume, and that's what we have to find. So we also, if you look on the practice, I noticed that we see some decimals. Do we know how to multiply with decimals? Yes, we do. Remember, when you multiply with decimals, you have to take the decimal out and then you have to move it back in. But that is when you have two numbers. When you have three numbers, it's the same thing. You would multiply the first two numbers. So I'm not going to use the numbers from the practice because I think you should do it. Actually, I will use it because in that way the people that actually are watching this video get this answer. So I'm actually doing part C of number 1. Part B is where you just estimate, and we'll do that after we get to our, well, let's estimate. We're going to estimate 5.75, which would be 5, and 8.5 would be 8, and 2.25 is 2. I'm just basically doing front end estimation. So 5 times 8 is 40, and then 40 times 2 is 80. So our answer should be somewhat close to 80. And if it has a decimal, then 80 would have to be in front of that decimal, which I think we're going to have a decimal. So we're going to start with, I like to start with maybe the highest number, which is going to be 5.75. I'm going to multiply it by 8.5. Those are my first two dimensions right here, this one and this one. And so I multiply them first. I got to take out my decimals before I do anything like we practiced last night. The top number has 2 decimals and the bottom number has 1. So for a total of 3. I need to move my decimal back over 3 places when I get done. So I'm going to start with 5 times 5, which is 25. Regroup your 2. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. And 5 times 5 is 25, plus 3 is 28. Don't forget your placeholder. Now you're going to multiply with your 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 4 is 60. And 8 times 5 is 40, plus 6 is 46. Add your two answers together. You get 5, 7, 8, 8, and 4. And now don't forget to bring your decimal back over 3 places. So now I have 48.875, but that is not my final answer because I've only multiplied the length and the height, and so now I have to do that 2.25. So now I'm going to multiply 2.25, and I have to move my decimal out again. So I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, for a total of 5 moves at the end. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 3 is 43. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 4 is 44. And 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Don't forget your placeholder. Now it's the 2's turn. 2 times 5 is 10. Let me cross these guys out. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. And 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Now, the great thing is I have a 2 again, so I just got to put down my 2 placeholders, and I can just rewrite my numbers I had in my my second row. So I need to put, I'm going to put these numbers. I have a 0, a 5, a 7, and a 9. add all my answers together. 5, 7, 8, 16. I think that's 16. Yep. And then we have 8, 7, 14, 18, 19. We have 12, 19 again, and 10. But I need to bring my decimal over 5 places. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my answer. It should be 109 decimal 96875, which 109 is not too far off from 80. If I would have rounded up, I could have even said the 5 could have been 6. The 8 would have rounded up to maybe to 9, and then the 2.25 would have been 2. So 6 times 9 is 54, and 54 times 2 is, oh, look at there, 108, which is very close to that 109 I got. You should know how to do part A, where you list the faces, the edges, and the vertices. Look back at your notes. Part 2 is you're going to be doing the same thing, but they didn't give you, they just gave you the length, the width, and the height. So I do see decimals again. You do not need to do the stretch. So remember, for part A, let's go back up to part A. You're going to do 7 times 4 times 2 and get your answer. And then now the rest of them have some decimals. The back side, you do not need to do 1 and 2. Part 3 is you're going to do an area model. You don't have to do the area model, but you do need to calculate these fractions. 3/4 times 1/3. You just multiply across on the top and the bottom. Now you could simplify these, so pay attention to that. Same thing with part B. 4, greatest common factor. You can do the tree thing. It's like 72 and 30, and find all your prime numbers, and then multiply your prime numbers. And don't forget, for part 5, least common multiple is your product divided by your greatest common factor, which equals your least common multiple with your 2 numbers. So again, these are all a review. You should know how to do these. Numbers 4 and 5 are from topic 1, and numbers 3 is from topic 2 that we just finished. I hope you guys have a good night working on your homework. Again, look back at your notes. I will take pictures of my notes and I'll upload them underneath notebook practice pages. I'll also see if I can find some Khan Academy videos to put under for volume. Also, I want to know tomorrow, this is your question of the night. I want you to put at the top of your homework, who do you think will win Game 4, the Astros or the Yankees, and the ALCS Championship? Well, who's going to win Game 4, Astros or Yankees? Put that at the top of your paper, then I know you watched my video, and this is going to get you some extra credit. Have a good night. Bye-bye.